Welcome to the show. Info at your door. We got that info for you. Touchdown on that plane. Info in its name. More than just a podcast for you.
Welcome to another edition of the 10 for YouTube show. I am your hostess, Jamesetta Cleveland, and joining me today, back with us once again, is Miss Terri and one of our faithful, Miss Angela Pride, and we got a newbie, Darnisha Allen-Jackson, is joining us today. Today's episode is going to be totally devoted to women in sports. We're freestyling. We're going to talk about how sports has evolved for women and the groundbreaking things that we saw happening in 2020 and 2021. But before we get started, ladies, take some time, introduce yourself, let our listeners know a little bit about you. Don't all jump in at once. Don't all.
Well, hello, everybody. I'm Angela Pride, as she said. I am definitely a woman's advocate. As you can see here, when women lead, that's one of my trademarks and one of my brands. But also, I'm always here on 10-4 representing CWP Sports Consulting. It is our company that my husband and myself do to help high school athletes in particular prepare for the recruitment process. So excited to be here to talk about these fabulous women and what they're doing in today's sports.
Come on, Miss Terri.
Hey, I'm Terri Bryant. Everybody calls me Coach T. I am a former athlete. I presently coach boys football or football, period. I coach football. I'm also have coached basketball and track. I have state championships and city titles and that type of stuff. I presently have a high profile athlete that's getting ready to go into a senior year that's being highly recruited in D1 schools. And I am excited to be here and talk about this topic.
Miss Darnisha.
Hi, my name is Darnisha Allen-Jackson. I am not in sports in the traditional sense of being a coach or having a consulting firm. I'm just a mom. My oldest son played at the University of South Carolina, and now he's coaching at Georgia State, and my baby plays for Ohio State right now, and he's going into his redshirt senior year at Ohio State. So my perspective is a little different than everyone else's because I'm on the mommy side of things, and had a pretty good social media following and, help build my boys' brands. And we have some branding things that we've done. So I just come in with a different kind of perspective.
Thank you, ladies, for joining me today. Let's get right to it. So history was made. Speaking of the University of South Carolina, this is SEC country. History was made in the SEC this year, and we had our first female football player in the SEC, Miss Sarah, and I just wanted to get you guys' thoughts. It was a very interesting story for those people that don't follow football. Sarah Fuller actually won an NCAA championship in soccer, and Vanderbilt lost all their kickers, and they don't have men's soccer, and so they reached down into the soccer ranks for a kicker, and Sarah Fuller was available, and she stepped up and she allowed them to be able to play several games. She even went on to score. So I just want I think about what people some people said. Some people, of course, were very excited, but then you had a group of people that said, it was a gimmick. So let's talk about this. What does it mean for girls who are watching football to see someone on the actual field? I loved her little ponytail hanging out. It's like, yes, we're out there. So what does it mean for girls watching Power 5 football? What does that mean for us?
It's pretty exciting, I'll say. Now, I'm just going to be honest. I have daughters, and football would not be a choice that I would want them to make, but I totally and utterly believe in girl power and believe that girls can do anything that they put their mind to. And a lot of the chatter that I heard about Miss Sarah was, you know, I think a lot of the guys that got COVID or something. I'm not really sure what the situation was, but anyway, she came in, but not only did she do well, when the guys came back, she beat those guys out. And so I need everybody to understand that. So to understand that she wasn't a football player, coming from a soccer entity, again, where your feet are super duper important. She came in and she did her job. And I just was excited I went back and like researched that because I didn't watch the game. I had a lot of stuff going on during that time. But when I heard that she was going to be kicking, I was like, yes, let's get it. Let's go. Because I knew, you know, as women, a lot of times, y'all don't know if y'all know, but women aren't going to necessarily be so confident and say, hey, I can go out here and get it. So to see it, to watch her do her thing was super exciting. I had to go back. I shared it on all of my platforms. I was just psyched about it. So that's how I felt.
I thought it was pretty cool to see her out there. I was cheering for her because I remember being in the 11th grade wanting to play football because I went to high school in Honolulu, Hawaii, and in 91, they started allowing girls to play football. And I remember coming home telling my dad, I want to try out for the football team. I ran track and field. So I was like, I'm going to go out for the football team. I can catch pretty good. And I do good when we play Power Puff. My dad said, absolutely not. And to see a girl doing it in 2020, it was absolutely exciting and so empowering. I have two nieces, and while my parents and their parents are probably saying no to football as well, it was just cool to be able to see a young lady be out there on the field with these guys and holding her own. She was amazing. And it's just sad that it took until 2020 to see it happen.
Yeah, I agree about that one. Yeah, definitely. Sad it took so long.
Yeah.
Ms. Terri, you coach. What are your thoughts?
I was excited. I mean, I thought it was a milestone. Okay. But I did have reservations because she is a female. So what happens is, say you're a kicker, you know, if you're on the other side of the ball and the placeholder bobbles that ball, they're supposed to nail the kicker.
Come on.
And so what happens is, if somebody was the nailer, everybody would be mad because they'd be like, well, she's a female. You can't hit her like that. But if you're ready to step out on the field, then you have to be prepared to take everything else that goes with it as a female. We can't have it both ways when it comes to when we step out into those platforms that is male dominated. And I think that was my only representation. And then there was
that though, like she never pushed back or didn't expect to be protected.
And that's good. But and the other thing that she did was she was disrespectful to her teammates. Like, I don't know if you had heard about that part, but like she was like talking trash about what somebody wasn't doing and this, that, and another. I'm like, ooh, you got to get your feet wet in there and become a part of the squad first.
No, I'm going to be devil's advocate there because she came from a championship. She won a championship in soccer. It is perfectly acceptable for a champion to say, you guys aren't playing with heart.
I get that.
That is perfectly acceptable. Now, people did feel that way, but I'm going to say no, because I don't care who you are. The work that it takes to win a championship at any level is hard. And if a champion tells you, hey, you guys shouldn't be quiet on the sidelines, you should be cheering for your teammates, that she's absolutely right. And I don't say that because she's a girl. I say that because champions have
she's a champion player.
Yeah.
And I get that.
Like that's who. So like success leaves clues. There are people who are not in basketball who look at Michael Jordan for clues about work ethic, attitude. So championship is a championship. It takes a lot to humble yourself. Yeah, you're playing Power 5 football, but you can still humble yourself and say, what does it take to be a champion? That's like,
I like that.
And if
Yeah, and I agree. I think you know, you gotta, you know, talk the talk and walk the walk. You can't just, because it's just like you said, Terri, like some people probably would have been upset if she had gotten hit. However, I don't think she would have, because when you put those pads on, you got to know what you're signing up for. Like, you know, in our area, my husband was a rec league coach, and his job was too strenuous for him to maintain. I think he did it for like 3 years, and he kept pushing me. He was like, "Baby, you can do it. You need to coach." And I was like, I don't know about that. Because, like, again, we as women don't tend to say or be confident in areas. You know, we gonna check about 8 boxes, but if we ain't checking all 10, we kind of like, oh, and that's kind of how I felt. And so to hear, Terri, that you are actually coaching football, coaching young men is even more empowering. It ignites me. It makes me want to, you know, go back and say, you know, y'all need a coach. What's up? I got this.
And I'm the hard coach. I think the other coach, my husband, I think is soft as cotton candy. You know what I mean? I'm thinking like, why did you in their tail? You know, that was just me. I coach basketball, so I was a Bobby Knight type of a coach. So I was all in their tail, right? So he's like real passive, and I'm thinking like, don't you need to get into their tail a little bit more? So I'm like the hardcore coach. But I love that perspective of, you're right. You know, if we're gonna be a female and we're gonna step into them platforms, then we just gotta go all in. But we also have to expect the good with the bad that comes with it. And if it's talking about football and you expect to be hit, don't be mad.
And you get hit.
When you get hit.
You know what's funny, that like the conversation, like I looked at that because, you know, Vanderbilt's down the street. I'm in Franklin, and Vanderbilt's like right down the street. Well, 20-30 minutes away, not very far. But I think about, you're making me think, can men take feedback from women? Like, because there was definitely not hey, she's won an SEC championship in soccer. Can we learn from her? There was tension and friction. People did have things to say. She would make comments to them on the sidelines about how quiet they were, how they weren't like part of soccer. For her experience, she felt like part of their win was that atmosphere that they brought to the table as a team, like talking to each other, being excited for each other, cheering for each other, clapping each other up. And I'm just thinking, like, have we ever had a male athlete just go and say, you know what, Serena, I don't care what anybody says listening to this show, Serena Williams is the GOAT. I don't care what nobody says. I don't care. Who else had won a championship with another human? Like, she's the GOAT. But like, do we even see men going to her today? How did you make it for 23 years? And tennis is a sport where you're either, it's you against you. Your flaws are very, very open, very easy for people. And I wonder, as we're having this conversation, I wonder if anybody on the Vanderbilt football team said, you know what, this woman is a champion. She has something that we don't have and haven't had for quite some time. What can we learn from her?
Maybe not the team, but the coaches did. That's why the coaches sought her out. You know, I don't know about the players, but I think what you're saying, it's no different. We're talking about sports today, but it's no different than in corporate America. It's the glass ceiling. We've got to continue to break that glass ceiling. We got to continue to do what we are capable of. We've got to continue to use our gifts. We've got to continue to encourage and motivate ourselves, because nobody else is going to give it to you. I don't blame the boys on the sideline for maybe trying to rag on her or whatever, but she still went out there. She still did her job. The talking trash is a part of the game. I'm so sick of everybody being so sensitive and this, that, and the other. We playing football. This ain't Powerpuff. This is football. She got pads on. Let's go. That's it. I mean, but it's no different than any entity for women. I just got through watching the thing about the Black church on PBS. Women are still in the church doing everything, and you still got men saying women can't preach.
Can't be preacher.
Come on now. Come on now. Come on.
Hey,
don't get me started.
And the word was carried by a woman for 9 months, right? Don't get me started on that one.
That's a really valid conversation. I didn't really think about it, but like, really, when are we ever just sought out where men say, hey, I can totally learn from you. You've got something that I don't have. We are constantly constantly fighting for recognition, fighting just to have people say, you know what, you earned it. You earned it. How often do people say, I mean, we're speaking of corporate America, I had people come up to me and tell me I was a twofer. You know, you're a woman and you're black. So
Mhm.
I went, you know, there
I mean,
is
we hit the quota.
you do get into rooms where people are like, well, you're only here because you're a woman, you're only here because you're black, and we needed to check the boxes. Very
Mhm.
seldom do people just, when women show up in spaces, say, well, you earned this spot. They're
Well,
in.
especially women. That's who we shouldn't be competing against. That's who always should have our back. Other women.
Other
But
women.
I fight harder against women in my area than I do any man. I've coached more men than I've coached women. But women are so hard on each other. So women are so, I got this for, I ain't helping you. Men don't act that way. Men will be ready to retire, and they'll give you all their clients because they retire to another man. But women are like, nope, this mine. I don't work hard for. I can't tell you. I can't let you know my secrets. So in this conversation, ladies, anybody who's listening to this conversation, we have to do better as women, especially Black women. So cheering for this young lady who got out there at Vanderbilt, cheering for some of the young ladies that have been offered full ride scholarships, because that's happened in football. I know two that I can name, one in California and I think one in Detroit, that have gotten scholarships to play football at the next level, which is unheard of. We've got to be cheerleaders of these ladies. We've got to be at the forefront going, go, 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 because we can't expect anybody else to do it if we can't do it ourselves.
Absolutely.
Speaking of women in sports, I had an opportunity to interview Key Watts. I don't know if people know this, but the NAIA has an initiative. It's been around for a couple of years. I just learned this a few months ago. Their initial commitment was to launch scholarship flag football teams for girls. And so Kiwa, in the interview that I did, she is one of the inaugural players that's going to be playing this year in the fall. But when I was doing my research, the NAIA has committed to actually having flag football teams for girls at all of their schools by 2025. And so for me, I was like, whoa, this opens up a whole new realm. I mean, even my daughters could not imagine that, like, I couldn't imagine that there's going to be this whole league that has said women matter. And I know we've been saying that football is not a man's game, that it's a woman's game as well, but it's nice to see a league put their money where their mouth is and offer these girls scholarships and saying, we're going to make an entire commitment to you, every school, by 2025. That was like huge for me. You know, speaking of, you made me think about that when you talked about women earning scholarships. Just imagine things that weren't even an option for us growing up.
Right.
It wasn't something that our niece, I have daughters, but our daughters, nieces, could even fathom. But this new group of girls that graduate in May, this isn't an option for them. And they get to be trailblazers. I think that's really cool.
I agree.
Yeah, Tony, go ahead.
No, I was just saying, I totally agree. I think it's really cool to be able to see girls being able to have the opportunity to go out there and play the sports that they love, just like the guys do. The ceiling is meant to be broken, and it's high time that it happens.
Well, you know, I am a fan of Tony Harris. So she's the one that has a scholarship at Central Methodist,
Yeah,
and she plays DB.
in
right?
Detroit, right?
Is it
Detroit?
Is it? I thought it was in Missouri.
Is she the one that was on the NFL, the Super Bowl commercial a couple of years ago?
Yes, she's the one that's in a Super Bowl commercial a couple years ago, right? Or last year, year before last, right? Yes,
Yeah.
that was her, right? And so, you know, and so of course I follow her or whatever like that in her game, but just the fact that, you know, again, she beat people out for that position, you know, and she still competes, you know, at a high level. And And then I think the other girl that's in the NAIA, she is a kicker. Now she might be the one that's in Detroit, I think. I can't
No,
remember where
the
she's at.
girl from Central Methodist, she's from Detroit, but the school is in Missouri. She's from Detroit though.
She's from Detroit. Oh, I thought she was from Los Angeles. Okay, gotcha.
But it's
Okay.
one in California, so we may be talking about three. See, I haven't really kept up with it. The first one I heard about was the young lady in California, and I want to say the young lady in California was a receiver. But
Okay.
again, I don't have the facts in front of me. But you know,
Well,
the point being that these young ladies are doing things that haven't been done before. So kudos.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And so, and of course, I love, you know, and I know, James, you're going to mention Coach Lori Locust, who was the assistant defensive back coach for Tampa Bay, because Tampa Bay's defense was on point against Kansas City.
Well, since we're talking women in the NFL, let's do that then.
So what I'm trying to tell you is she had the defense on point because they was cold-blooded against Kansas City. That's what I'm saying. And she was the assistant DB coach.
Playoffs in the
entire playoffs. Oh yeah.
People were talking about Tom Brady. I was like, bruh.
No. The defense should have got the MVP.
The defense kept giving them the ball back. The defense kept making stops. The defense kept the other team from scoring. Come on, you gonna stop Aaron Rodgers from scoring?
Yeah, even that game before, Brady had 3 picks. The defense bailed him out.
Real talk. The defense was the MVP for anybody who's telling the truth.
Yeah. Absolutely. And again, Coach Locust is a female, and she is, you know, an assistant. You know, a defensive line. I'm sorry, I said DB. She's a defensive line coach.
I am so geeked. But we're getting to have the conversation. Did you think in our lifetime that we would have the opportunity to have the conversation?
I mean, it was almost like the same conversation we had when Obama became president. We would have never guessed that we would ever have a Black person, period, in the, you know, in the White House. And now we got a female VP, right? In our lifetime.
That look like me. Who's she looking like? Who's she looking like?
Who's she looking like?
So I like that they're putting women in the strength and conditioning.
Yes.
So I know that it's like, y'all are like, well, they're not coaching like the line.
No.
But I love to see women in the world of strength and conditioning because we are strong too. So it's been amazing for me just to even, I remember watching, I don't know if it was ESPN or I can't remember, you know, they have like the little shows and they were doing the journey of Tampa Bay strength and conditioning coach. And I remember some of the athletes saying that they didn't have confidence in her just because she was a girl. But then once they started with her programming and they realized that, yeah, she was a girl, but she's got a brain. And she does know how to build a body. I mean, science is science. Whether you're a girl using scientific principles or whether you're a boy using scientific principles. But it does speak to, we're celebrating and being honest, sports is very male dominated. Are we trusted? Are women trusted? And if we aren't, why not?
We're not trusted, but that's just a part of the jargon. It's the systems that have been put in place, just like with race. You know, because in all honesty, I never thought that I would be at a point in my life. I played basketball in high school, and I never thought I'd be at a point of really like loving football the way that I love it and knowing the game how I know it right now. And coming from that perspective, the reason my husband was encouraging me to coach is because we sat back and watched a lot of daddy ball, a lot of coaches that was just playing Madden or going online and looking up stuff. And it was like, what is that drill supposed to be doing? Or what how did he come up with that play? Or, you know, and I was figuring it out. I was knowing, you know, different things. So my point of saying all of that is that it's jargon. It's the propaganda that they want us to believe that women are. Why can't a woman be a strength and conditioning coach when that's something maybe she's passionate about? I also remember being in high school. Now, me wanting to be in weight training was twofold. They didn't make us lift weights, like as far as basketball was concerned. There was some cute guys in there, but I enjoyed lifting weights. Like I wanted to be in there with the cute guys. I can't lie. I'm gonna tell you that. But when I learned how to adequately squat, it was life. I mean, I was called chicken leg from the time I was born to probably about 12. But now I get compliments on my legs because guess what? I know how to do some good leg workouts. And so I just think it's definitely not about women not being able to do the job. It's just about those who are in charge determining who's going to get the job and how they're going to get the job and those sorts of things. Because like I said, there's plenty of guys out there doing strength and conditioning. There's plenty of line coaches. There are plenty of head coaches that ain't got a clue and they still getting a check.
And that's facts. I would like to just kind of tell my story of even how I got into coaching. My husband's been coaching for over 28 years. And he's been coaching, high school football and high school baseball for years, right? And so when our son was a freshman, he ended up starting varsity as a 13-year-old freshman. And so my husband was still coaching at a different school. And so he stepped down coaching. So he took a year off. Well, the middle school position where I used to coach at, well, it wasn't open, but the principal asked him, would he want to coach? And he was like, yeah, I don't mind being a DV coach. He was like, no, the head coach. He said, I didn't know it was open. He said, well, it'll be open if you want it. Well, when he told me about it, of course, I was excited because it allowed him, I know how much he loves coaching. And this was like the first time in 28 years he had took off and hadn't coached football. So I knew he was missing it. And I felt like this was a great opportunity for him. And so when he came back and was like, okay, I accepted the job and I made you my assistant coach. And I just looked at him like, okay, you got all these people running around here that's way more qualified than me, and I felt some type of way. But this is what he told me. He said, yeah, but the school that we're coaching at, I already got 3 banners. I already had track, two state championship banners in track. I had 2 regular season girls undefeated basketball seasons. I had a girls tournament champion. So I already had like 3-4 banners already hanging in the rafters, right? And so he was like, and you've been a head coach. He said, so I've never been a head coach. He said, as long as I've been coaching, I've never been a head coach. He said, so you can kind of help me to kind of navigate through this by being my assistant coach because, and T, football. He says, football, And so, and I was a little self-conscious at first. And then there was, I remember our first year, we were in the playoffs. Girl, we were down 14-7 with 6 minutes left in the game. And girl, we only played like 8-minute quarters. And I went up to him and I said, babe, I need you to go talk to the offensive coordinator because his clock management is suck. I said, we still got to score. We got to score twice and we need to win this game. And he was like, no, we got to score once. I said, no, scoring once only ties the game. We trying to win. He immediately at that time called a timeout. He readjusted some things or whatever like that. And we won the game. And we ended up going into the championship game. And then he came up, he said, that's why you're here.
Well, yeah, duh.
He said, that's why you're here. That's what I need. That's why you're here. And then of course I handle all the parents because I'm, he don't like dealing with the parents. So I handle the parents, and I'm able to talk to them a little bit differently than what he does. I tell them, I said, we're coaches, but I'm a wife first. Don't be disrespecting my husband. I don't want to hear none of that chatter on the sidelines and all that type of stuff like that. Y'all keep that all up in the side. But he can't say that as the head coach, because he's a man. You know what I mean? And so it's just a little bit different, But that was just my story. But that is the point of this all is that you have to have somebody that knows your ability or that believes in your ability and gives us the opportunity as women to sit in those positions. And that's why I love Coach Arians. Coach Arians, to me, is better than any other coach, because guess what? All his coordinators was Black, and he had a female assistant coordinator, right? And so I'm thinking like, okay, who is this man? Because he's the bomb. He's the epitome of diversity.
He's also older. He's got wisdom. He knows a little bit.
But
and he was the oldest coach to win the Super Bowl, I think, because he's like 68 years old. So it ain't like he didn't grow up in an era.
But he said,
it's not like he didn't grow up in an era that, you know,
where women,
I'm just saying,
where
women and Black people were not accepted.
Right. Well, he was on Good Morning America one morning, and he said, you know, it's high past the time. And he was like, it doesn't matter if it's a woman or if it's a man, it's the best person who can do the job. Now, I'm going to say something that's going to probably sound a little out of character or wonky. A lot of times I sat back and I looked and I said, you know, the strength and conditioning coach, because I'm like I said, I'm on a different side of it. And so I see the strength and conditioning coach as a strong woman. And I've sometimes felt like the men don't feel threatened by her because she's not, and this is just my opinion, but she's not the lipstick and the earrings and the hair. So they're not threatened by her. But then I saw the defensive line coach for Tampa Bay. She's a mom of two sons. I see you, Terri. You know, so I was like, do they not feel threatened by these coaches because they're not per se the woman with the lipstick and the hair and the earrings and the skirts, and they feel like, oh, she's just one of the guys? Or do they actually see the ability that she has, but they found out after they looked past the packaging? That for me has always been kind of like, is that what they're doing here? Is that what they're not doing? So we've had, you know, my sons played park ball for a number of years, and I was always the team mom or the booster club president at the high school, always involved. And, you know, I'd give my little, you know, spiel here and there to the coach. Coach, you may want to do this next time. You know, talk to the coaches out there. And we had women that coach, but again, they were always women that were of a different type of caliber. And so that it's a beautiful thing to see you, Terri, doing the work you do. To me, it is. It really is. And like I said, it's a different type of opinion, but it's still an opinion.
Valid though.
I think that's a good opinion. Oh, don't you think that's good, Jamesetta? Because like if you look at Callie Brownson at Cleveland, she looks straight like a dude.
Listen.
Like she looks like a man.
And you know what? But I see, but at the same time, though, I think that players feel that way about anybody, male or female. They're just not going to be as vocal about the man because, again, of the training, because of the conditioning. So we're going to be real vocal because this is a woman, and what can she teach me? And she don't even look the part, and this, that, and the other. Well, but again, being built or being muscular just means that you work out. Right. But a true great strength and conditioning coach is going to be able to take that scrawny kicker and still make him effective. It's going to be able to take the running back and put them thighs together for him so he can run
overweight defensive lineman and get him to slow down.
So it's about your ability to do the job. And we've got to get over. I think we just got to have some paradigm shifts. And I feel like we're going to have those as we continue to see women do their job well, as we continue to hire these women in these prominent positions, and they get to be put on the spotlight. Because I think women, we as a whole, we shine best when we're in the spotlight. And so if we continue to do that, we can debunk all of that stuff. We can get all of those little paradigms, and you're going to have to want to shift your paradigm, because again, the belief system that's in you is in you because you believe it. So until you want to change it, until you say, hey, that's my coach, then, you know, you're going to be where you at.